It depends on where you want to start, really. So when we first met, Nicki was basically like, so what are you into, James? And I said, Bitcoin, and I'm going to go to El Salvador one day. And here we are.
Welcome to Bitcoin Basics with your hosts, Faris and Gordon. Visit bitcoinbasics.help if you need help buying and securing your Bitcoin.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Bitcoin Basics podcast with your host, Gordon. That's me. And I have Faris, my partner in crime, with me as well, as usual. Before we get started, let's have a look at the Bitcoin.Club Moody dashboard. Today is Faris, June the 20th. It's not June the 21st. I just want to state that for everyone. Today is June the 20th.
Oh, hang on. So we did the interview on June 20th, but we forgot to do the introduction, which we're doing now. But
don't
if you're
tell everyone.
No. If you're going to do that, then you got to go to yesterday's block high, yesterday's Bitcoin price. Are you prepared?
That's what I was going to do. I was going to do that because if we
actually prep this, or you're going to make it up?
No, I'm just going to make it up.
That's what I thought. Okay.
No,
so anyone
because
fact checking us.
We don't want our listeners to know how unprofessional and the fact that we missed doing a recording. So how about I just do today's price and stop mucking around? Today is June the 21st. The current price of Bitcoin is 20,420. The current block height is 741,639. And Satoshis per dollar, 4,890. So yesterday, Faris, we recorded an interview with Nicki and James, but you tell us about it. What were your impressions?
Yeah, this was really cool, actually. So it was strange because someone where I live in New Zealand mentioned they know of this couple that sold up everything in New Zealand and moved to El Salvador because it was a Bitcoin-friendly place. I'm like, what? So I ended up touching base with them and watching a couple of their YouTube videos. And it was a very fun conversation. A couple of moments where me and Gordon were just flabbergasted because they're describing what it's like living under a Bitcoin standard.
I love these kind of interviews. People who are actually out there, boots on the ground, in the field, whatever you want to call it, actually using Bitcoin instead of people like us in Western countries. Yeah, we use Bitcoin, but not on a daily basis. So they're using Bitcoin as a method of payment. We're using Bitcoin primarily as a store of value. So love these kind of use cases. Fascinating people, fascinating interview. And without further ado, let's play it.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, like, and share so we can find others like yourself.
James, Nicki, thank you very much for joining us here, guys. I got to say, it's a bit strange for me hearing the Kiwi accent, being in New Zealand myself. I had to go to the other side of the world to find some fellow Bitcoiners. So tell us a little bit about your story. How did you end up from Auckland in El Salvador?
Well, we actually started in Nelson.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
No way. What year were you guys here?
We lived in Nelson.
I thought you were in Auckland.
Nelson.
No.
Oh, crap. Oh, wow. Jeez.
So we left Nelson on the 5th of February. Maybe a bit earlier than that, but yeah.
Yeah. It depends on where you want to start, really. So when we first met, Nicki was basically like, so what are you into, James? And I said, Bitcoin, and I'm going to go to El Salvador one day. And here we are. So
what year was this? Sorry.
2021.
Yeah,
beginning of 2021.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yes. And so I've been in Bitcoin since 2012. When I heard about El Salvador and what it was doing, I was very excited and interested. And when Bukele basically said, "Yep, this is a thing. This is happening," and he enacted the law, and it all happened. And he's the first guy in the world to actually stand up and do it and commit to it. And I think he actually understands it's not price, which it seems to be a big focus at the moment. And Boo Kelly actually messaged this morning or last night that it's more than price. And I think the analogy I used with Nicki was don't judge a book by its cover. And I think if you look at the price of Bitcoin only, you're judging the book by its cover. And once you understand what it stands for, you look at it differently. So the price today doesn't bother me. Hopefully Nicki's all right. But there's more to it.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to mention that Faris and I have both had calls and emails. And, oh my God, are you okay? Should I sell? And it's like, I've stopped looking at Bitcoin charts. I just read my email. That's my ultimate indicator. Like, how many people are telling me to sell, or are you suicidal? I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy Bitcoin now. So now
it's actually a good test for people who listen to our show are not contacting us, because our show has been exactly what you described. Just buy, DCA into Bitcoin only, and don't look at the price for 5 years. So if people are asking us, are you okay? We know, you're not listening to our show. You don't know where we're coming from.
Yeah, we've
got a smart audience. So I've got a million questions about Bitcoin, El Salvador, Lightning Network, all that kind of stuff. But before we start, I'm sorry if these are boring questions, but I think people are interested in how people got to Bitcoin. So what's your sort of origin story? Or feel free to introduce yourselves however you guys want to do that.
Origin story for me, I've always been interested in money and how money worked. So before Bitcoin, I was reading a lot of self-help books, interested in, there's the classic thing where it's think and grow rich. And so you then, it's like, well, actually, how does money work on a mechanical level? And you start investigating, and I became a gold and a silver bug, and I bought a small stash of gold and silver and understood all sorts of things around that. And then when Bitcoin came along in 2012 in my life, I think, basically my brother sent me an article, and I was sort of like, oh yeah, it looks cool. And I couldn't figure out a way to easily get it. I downloaded the client, and then I basically walked away from it. Then later that year, I ended up buying some on the Mt. Gox exchange. So in terms of what got me into it, I've always been interested in money and how it works in society. And then on a philosophical and moral level, I like the way gold and silver and Bitcoin work. That would probably be my best explanation.
Cool. Nicki, do you want to chime in?
And then for me, okay, so I come back from, I've got a background in finance and mortgages. And so for the last 13 years, I've been working in the mortgage game, and it's been really interesting for me in seeing how the mortgages are changing and what the requirement is from, the triple CFA laws and regulations in regards to, what we're requiring from clients and the New Zealanders, and things started not stacking up for me. Meeting James and talking to him, because I was coming in, getting clients going, I'm making money on Bitcoin, and I've got, here's my income returns, and I'm making money, this is what I'm getting. And we're going, well, I can't lend on this. It's not possible. So it was really good to be able to sit down and actually go, well, what's all this about and what's going on? And so, so it's just been for me, it's I'm very much new and very learning. The biggest thing I've found with coming to El Salvador is the ability it's actually the Bitcoin platform, the ability to transfer money from New Zealand to El Salvador and not getting caught up in the fees that you're getting if you're doing the transfer wires or, all those other systems to get your money across. And it's been really good with the people here and talking to them and seeing the benefits that are actually happening here, which has been absolutely great. So, yeah.
We will get into that. I just have a question myself, Nicki. So when you said the things were stacking up in the mortgage industry, are you referring to just being able to use Bitcoin as collateral, or is there something else going on in there?
No, it's become, with the mortgage game now, it's become the amount of information we're needing to get from our clients. It just doesn't feel right. We're needing to get so much, what are you spending on, alcohol? What are you spending on food? What are you spending on your personal things? And it's like, if you've got enough income to service a debt, then it shouldn't, those sorts of things are all variable stuff, and you can change your variable spending. And when all of a sudden that takes into account whether we can lend money, it's just, to me, not right. Because people can change those habits. Because if to get into a debt, I mean, there's a certain amount. Yes, you have to provide proof that you can afford a mortgage, absolutely. But all those other extra variable things shouldn't take into account, which have been doing. And just little things are starting to creep in that it's that's just not sitting right with me.
Wow. So I've been watching some of your YouTube channels, and we'll put up a link for everyone to join in, guys, because it's really interesting to watch. Like, me and Gordon have spoken often. If it weren't for the COVID restrictions, we'd actually be out in El Salvador. 2021, how did you guys manage to leave the country and get over there? Was there just a window where it was open, you just snuck through?
This is the piece that we hesitate to talk to people about this, because we know it can rub a lot of people the wrong way. So our choice is we chose not to get vaccinated. And basically what was happening in New Zealand was people were being forced, they were being coerced. They were being coerced into doing something, whether they wanted to or not in some cases. And we started to ask the question, when Air New Zealand came out and said that to travel internationally, you will have to have a COVID vaccination pass. That was a point where it was like, hang on, that's basically trapping people in the country, and that doesn't sit well with us. So that was the point where we woke up on the 26th of December and said, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Let's go to El Salvador. And we literally put a post on Facebook that morning and asked if anybody knew someone from El Salvador in Nelson. And we got a response that morning. We messaged the lady and she said, come around for a cup of tea this afternoon. We went round and we met her. We had a chat. The key thing that basically came out was, our question was, is it safe to go to El Salvador? She is from El Salvador, left during the Civil War. Her husband's from Iran. And they come from two of probably the most sort of unstable countries in the world. And they were like, yeah, don't take this the wrong way, but New Zealanders are soft. So we then took that as a sign that if they're coming here and they're from two of the most dangerous countries in the world, and they're like, yeah, no, look, you'll be fine.
Yeah. And then from there, we were very much going, okay, well, how can we get there? My sister is a travel agent, so we sort of went on and had a quick look of what possible places, where can we go, and then contact my sister, and pretty much most of a lot of the airlines were working on the stance of where they were flying to, if there were, what the mandates were and where they were flying to, were whether they were going to make it compulsory to be vaccinated on that flight. So we ended up traveling for 4 days, and we're in the air for 40 hours to fly to El Salvador.
Normally we could jump on a plane, go to LAX down to Central America, but we had to take the long way around the world. So we went through United Arab Emirates up to
Dubai.
Dubai, over to Madrid, and then into Central America, and then down here. So it was a long way around and quite an adventure.
What was your family, friends' response?
You're crazy.
Yeah. Some people were excited. A lot of people were worried.
Yeah. There was a lot of genuine fear and worry and concern that we were going to the most dangerous country in the world. And that also going to a third world country, never been to Central America before, you've basically gone and sold everything other than a house, and you're taking 4 suitcases, which is your entire life now, to the third world country, which is understandably, it looks scary and crazy, but at the same time.
Yeah. And I think there was one other fear was, you may not be able to get back.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what's going to happen in the future with mandates and with the world. So, that is another fear that they're going, what's if you can't come home again?
Yeah. Look, I'll chime in. I mean, we only ever talk about Bitcoin on the show. In one episode, I did talk about life in New Zealand with the mandates because I remember it was before the election where the prime minister said no one will ever be coerced to take the vaccine. And then I remember in September, what was the 90%, if you want to enjoy your summer, you need to get vaccinated. And that caused myself and my family no end of stress. And I met with two GPs. One said, you are, me personally, I'm at increased risk getting myocarditis. So it's up to you if you want to get COVID or myocarditis. Another GP said, no, don't take it. But yeah, we were, pariahs of society here in New Zealand. And it just, the drastic change like that. And it's not just that's the fact that you couldn't talk about it. And I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I just chose natural immunity. And the fact that I chose that does not make me a threat to someone else. And that's what it is. Like, the unvaccinated are going to run over to hospitals. Like, that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
We're very similar. And I guess taking that back to Bitcoin that's how I feel about Bitcoin as well, is that it's my choice to use the system, and I'm not hurting anybody by using it. And I should have a choice to use it if I want to.
So, sorry, Gordon, you go. I'll take a break.
No, you go. I mean, we can talk that. I mean, we're all on the same page with this stuff. I actually left Southeast Asia to come back home, and that was a complete nightmare. So we're all on the same page of traveling and waiting at airports. And it would be a lot more convenient if you just basically were coerced into doing something you didn't want to do. It was a lot more convenient to do that. But hey, we don't want to do it. So it's not whether you're anti-vaxxer or not. And it doesn't really matter. I've been blue in the face trying to explain to people it's got absolutely nothing to do with that. It's about being coerced into doing something. But as I look out my window and it's like 10 or 12 degrees, I hope it's warmer where you guys were. Was El Salvador like the number one choice, or did you guys sort of think, go to Central America, or what was the reasoning behind it?
Initially, it was buying a yacht.
We considered buying a yacht.
But it didn't get yet. It was for sure.
We've talked about it. We've talked about the Bitcoin Basics yacht, international waters. No one can get to us. So solar yacht with your own miners,
But no, it was El Salvador.
And one of the reasons was it was one of the first countries in the world to actually drop all the COVID restrictions, which made it easy. It made it an easy decision. So what that signaled to me, and this was, in my personal opinion, is the smart move by Bukele, which was if he wanted to demonstrate to someone like myself who's actually going to take responsibility, I take responsibility for what I've done with my money, and I'm taking responsibility for what I want to do with my health. If he was going to enforce COVID mandates, it was going to be hard for me to take him seriously on it. But when he was the first country in the world to basically go, no more, just come over here and you can wander around and do as you please, I was like, well, that sounds like my kind of guy. So here I come.
Yeah.
And from a practical point of view, visas, immigration, all that kind of stuff, what's that like?
New Zealanders are some of the luckiest people in the world in terms of our passport allows us to basically get a 3-month visa in probably the most places in the entire world. So thankfully, coming here, we got 90 days without any issues. Like when we turned up, they were like, hey, welcome. Just realized that your 90 days starts from today.
Yeah. They didn't check to see if you had a ticket out. They didn't check to see if you had enough income or anything. It was just,
Yep, welcome.
Yep, welcome.
Wow. A friendly immigration. I don't believe it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just don't.
It was great.
No, it was really easy.
That was good.
Yeah. And then we had the, first plan was to get our residency or our first year residency visa. Unfortunately, due to our, I suppose, lack of being organised and really understanding what they needed, we had to organise our criminal record from New Zealand, and that had to be apostilled. And so that took quite a long time, ordering that. And so all of a sudden we were coming up to our 90 days. And there's a thing, it's great. There's a thing called the El Tunco illness. And so you can get the El Tunco illness, and it's actually a way to get an extension visa for 90 days. And that's what they call it, but it's just a way of going in and you just organise another 90 days and you just need to prove income, a ticket out in 90 days' time, and your passport, and you sort of go into immigration, you fill out a form, and you just show that you've got the ability to actually stay for another 90 days and live here and show that you had a place to live. We went in and mentioned that we were here for Bitcoin, and majority of all that information they required, they wiped. So we didn't need to show income. We didn't need to show a ticket out. It was very easy. And
what we've heard about that is don't expect that. That's a case by case situation. So apparently the immigration officers actually have flexibility to address everybody on their own individual basis. And you will need to befriend a Salvadorian to go through this the 90-day extension process if you need it. You don't necessarily need it if you're organized. But she went in and said, "Oh no, these guys are here for Bitcoin," and
just everything was wiped. It was just like, "Oh, that's not a problem. We can do it all now.
Sign it."
It was just
what kind of government is this? This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, because you guys recently received residency, though, right? I think I saw you.
Yeah, we've got a year residency. Yeah,
I bought my card up.
Yeah, we haven't got a card.
A year residency. Okay. So without doxing yourselves here or giving away too much personal information, because Bukele introduced a Bitcoin residency program or citizenship program, didn't he?
It's in the process still. We wouldn't say that you can officially do it or take advantage of it. But I would definitely say that the immigration officers have been given the freedom to say if you're here for Bitcoin or you can demonstrate that you're doing Bitcoin things, that it works in your favor.
Yeah.
So is your residency based on that, or is just a separate, a pre-existing?
No, we've actually set up a company, and we're based on a company, so we've got a company residency.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we set up a company here, and from that, we've been able to get the year. And what happens is you renew the year visa for 3 years, and then you can get your permanent residency.
Yep.
And is it if you are earning Bitcoin, or if you're trading Bitcoin or gains on Bitcoin, is that taxed in El Salvador?
Well, this is good timing because we had the interview with our accountant for the business last week, and we asked him about that, and he said if you bring Bitcoin into the country, you don't have to pay the 13% GST or the income tax on it either, which is 22 to 30% or something.
25 to 30%.
25 to 30%. Yeah. So what we will do is we will use a service to be paid our Bitcoin overseas. I'm going to use a service that pays into a bank account overseas, and I will receive that income as Bitcoin into my wallet. And then I can use any Chivo ATM around the country to extract the cash, and I don't need to pay tax on it. And this, in my mind, I'm not here to avoid tax. I mean, I'm going to spend all that money here in El Salvador. It's going to go direct to people. So this is not a tax dodge or anything like that. It's inviting investment into the country. And basically, Bukele is saying, come in with what you can bring in Bitcoin. Because and here's the trick, if I go and put that Bitcoin into my company account, I'm potentially going to have to pay tax on it. But if I leave it in my Bitcoin wallets and spend it as Bitcoin in the community or take it out through a Chivo wallet, I'm not going to incur any of those taxes. So he's encouraging me to bring it in as Bitcoin and spend it as Bitcoin in the community.
That's so forward thinking.
Yeah, I was going to ask you questions about payments. So, and the devil's in the details, and I think a lot of people would like to know, like, again, without doxing yourself. So essentially, you're being paid in fiat, converting that through a third-party service into Bitcoin, and then that Bitcoin into your own wallet. Which have you got a Bitcoin debit card, or are you converting that into cash at an ATM, or what? Could you go through the process, maybe?
All of the above. Like I play with all the services, so it depends on everyone's personal situation. But basically, once I get it in here, I'm using a number of the more common wallets, like the the Blue wallets and the Bitcoin Beach wallet.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't have access to Chivo or Strike because they both require KYC from either the US or El Salvador. But we potentially can get the Chivo wallet if we engage our lawyer through a when you sign over authority. He will give us access to his DUI to be able to do it, which is a registration number that residents have.
So is that the Chivo wallet, James? Is that the government one? The government
so we can get that through for the business. So we can get a Chivo wallet for the business as long as we have a Salvadorian with a DUI that can be a I just think of the word
custodian, the responsible person. I can't think of the word off the top of my head at the moment. Yeah. But otherwise,
that's the national wallet. That's a Bitcoin wallet, and you can deposit and withdraw.
Yes.
Out of that.
But we aren't. But what happens? So I take any one of my Lightning wallets. So there's quite a variety out there now. But I commonly use the Bitcoin Beach one, which is made obviously by the Bitcoin Beach team. It's got some cool features. I highly recommend it. Anyone around the world can actually download it as long as you've got a mobile phone and use an SMS to verify. What we do is put the Satoshis in there, and then we go around to the businesses and say, do you accept Bitcoin? And even if they're using the Chivo wallet, which the majority of the businesses are, because that's the easy government one for them to work with, because they can then put their money back into their bank account, we can send a Lightning payment direct to their Chivo wallet and do business with them. And so even though our Bitcoin Beach wallet is all in Satoshis, when we make the payment, that vendor can choose to receive my Satoshis instantly converted into US dollars. So it doesn't matter that my wallet is Bitcoin or Satoshis only. They get to choose on their end.
Yeah, I've seen like you going around the marketplace and using the Bitcoin Lightning off your phones. Oh, it's so cool just to watch. If there's drastic price movements in Bitcoin, will that affect the point of sale? Like, do you see prices change?
I'm going to say no. So a lot of people that we're dealing with, they are converting it straight to US dollars. Okay. So it's our burden that the exchange rate moves, and we are mitigating that currency exchange by having US dollars in a separate wallet. So what happens is when I go to a restaurant and I spend $30 to buy dinner, I will then buy $30 of Bitcoin to replace what I just spent on the Lightning Network. So, for example, we bought Bitcoin specifically for this trip at the $40,000 mark. And, of course, now it's worth half as much. So because we don't want to lose our purchasing power, we can still spend it now. We just rebuy it on the same day in another wallet from stable coins into Bitcoin. And that's how we basically mitigate the currency conversion that's happening there.
So at restaurants, now that it's legal tender in El Salvador, do they act when you're given the receipt? Does it show in the US dollar denomination and Bitcoin, or just the one denomination for your receipt or for your invoice? Sorry.
It's a good question.
Just does it in US dollars.
Okay. Yeah, normally US dollars. So the main reason I guess I'm not really clear on it is often when we do a Chivo transaction, we only see the Satoshi sort of transaction on our Bitcoin Beach wallet. So, but I think, so for example, there was a steakhouse that we went to and they had Strike advertised, and I'm like, I'm definitely paying with Strike. And I asked one of the waiters and he's like, I got no idea what you're talking about. And so, I went to the restroom. When I came back, the other waiter's like, yep, we can do it. Yeah. And so we did it, and I'm pretty sure they did the transaction, and then they gave me a receipt from their standard system, which showed a dollar value. So everyone's doing it different. So, for example, if we go to a smaller bar, which is just a couple of people who are running a small business and they accept it, we're not going to receive any receipt. The transaction is the transaction on our wallet. Yeah.
It blows my mind. Bitcoin is legal tender. I just, it completely blows my mind. It is legal tender, but what is the feeling amongst the people, like in terms of education and understanding, and give us the sort of the lowdown?
there's layers. Where do you want to start?
There is layers. Okay, so first up, I suppose if we look at the previous house that we were renting, and a reasonably wealthy El Salvadorian, they said no. They go, we don't do Bitcoin. We're not going to accept rent and payments. By the second payment, he had converted and changed to do that. And so it was about talking to him and educating. And then you go into some stores and they go, yep, we'll do. And I think that first, we went and had the tacos, that first taco on the side of the street.
Yeah.
And we just sort of went in, didn't go in because it's outside, but we just sort of said, will you accept Bitcoin? And they said, yep. So they were really excited to accept it and work it. So everybody is different, and there is some feeling of, no, we've been forced into this, but it's an education. Education is there. So there's a lot that needs help here with education.
Yep. Not just the accepting, like, what is the understanding of Bitcoin? Like, what if you ask someone what is Bitcoin, what's the response?
There's different levels, and depending on who you get. So some people, it's politically charged, and of course they're just going to be very strong against it. Some people are genuinely interested, and so we had some young guys, and they're just like, how do we trade it? How do we trade it? How do we trade it? There's no other interest other than wanting to trade. And but we get some people. I remember going into one bar, and it was actually a foreign person that was working behind the bar, and he's like, we don't accept fake money here. And I had a bit of a giggle to myself about that.
Wow, they don't accept US dollars. That's unbelievable.
That was the irony. But you get a real mixed sort of question. So, for example, we've got a private driver that we met yesterday through another family that are visiting, and he's El Salvadorian. He's lived in Canada, great English. We had a conversation, and I said, we would love to recommend you more. Will you accept Bitcoin? Because it makes it easier for us to recommend you, because, of course, the Bitcoiners want to pay with Bitcoin when they're here. And he said, I'm open to it. I don't know how. So he just wants to get paid. He just wants work. And if we can give him a positive experience on download the Chivo wallet, get you free $30, and this is how easy a transaction is, there's a good chance he will adopt it.
Sorry. No, you go.
I was going to say the other thing is down at Bitcoin Beach at Hope House, they're doing some amazing work in educating about Bitcoin and teaching about the savings of Bitcoin and that whole thing about, you don't spend the money, the longer, just hold it, and it's just going to create wealth for you. And they're going to start from the age of 7 in the public schools. They're going to actually start educating on Bitcoin in the public schools from the age of 7. So
how are they going to do that? How are they going to do that?
We only know some basics, but this isn't the first time that Bukele's government has done something like this. So, for example, if you've been listening to the Bitcoin Beach guys, they recently said that they started a life-saving program where they were teaching and training lifeguards. And then the Bukele government came along and said, this is awesome, we're going to adopt it nationally. And they rolled out that program nationally. So my layman sort of guess or understanding of what he's most likely going to do is he will have people possibly from the Bitcoin Beach team and I guess economists who are happy to look at this as a viable option to teach. He's going to put together an education program and then roll it out nationally in a similar way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we actually interviewed Herman of Bitcoin Ixashi. He's running a Bitcoin Beach program in South Africa in Mossel Bay. And that's what they're doing, teaching kids how to surf after school. And they pay their instructors in Bitcoin. And Man, sorry. Yeah, we're just blown away because, you talk about Bitcoin in New Zealand. The only time you hear about it is when something bad happens. No one's up to date with what's going on. And just being able to do, Lightning Network at your local vendors is fantastic.
Can I just, I really want to mention this, that what's amazing about it is, so here I don't feel encumbered to use it. In New Zealand, I feel encumbered to use Lightning. But when you can just go up and do Lightning transactions is actually really fun. It's a lot of fun being able to see these transactions happen live, and I get a kick out of it. It's exciting. And if there's anyone in New Zealand who is umming and ahhing or wondering about it, it's worth doing and just learning the basics because it's fun.
Yeah.
And the experience is actually really good. You might think it's not worth doing, but the experience, it's cool.
Yeah. Well, we had a case, and you'll appreciate this, Nicki, coming from a banking background, where we had a client who purchased Bitcoin from their credit card. They got a call from their bank saying, do you know what you're doing? And this person obviously knew what they were doing. They knew how to do it. And they had this whole conversation with their bank. Bank goes, okay, it's fine. And they let the purchase happen. Then this person went to apply for a home loan. They already had multiple home loans with this bank. The bank rang them and said, because some of your income is derived from cryptocurrency, you're not allowed a new loan, and we're canceling that credit card.
Wow.
I don't know what the hell, it's okay for me to buy it, but as soon as I'm earning from it, that's a problem. And the bank's response was, yeah, we don't want to be exposed. It's like, how is a bank exposed when I'm the one buying it? And so this person just cracked it and said, moving away from legacy banking and want to move into full-time Bitcoin. And this is the problem in New Zealand, is the converting your Bitcoin into NZ dollars is a nightmare. Like Australia's got living room of Satoshi, which is really cool. But here it just raises so many red flags, whatever. So they just, you have to just go to get a Wirex card or something and go to an ATM and just convert it that way. But yeah, so no, I think you're going to have quite a few Kiwis and Aussies moving to where you guys are, which leads to two really important questions. What's the coffee like there? And Gord's, you want to know what the wine's like.
And the weather as well.
Okay, the coffee. We have done one coffee tour. We've been searching for a really good coffee. We still need to find a good coffee. The problem is
Central America.
I know El Salvador makes amazing coffee, and they're world known for their coffee. Majority of their coffee, or the good coffee, gets exported.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And because of, I suppose, the population, the culture, the people here, they didn't leave any nice coffee here. But they now have to leave 10% of their good coffee here. Because people have started getting the taste buds and going, yeah, we like good coffee. We're still trying to find it.
Yeah, we actually bought a proper stove top. We spent all this money buying a nice stove top coffee.
We bought it over from New Zealand.
Yeah, it was one of our things. It was like our little morning ritual with the stovetop coffee. And then trying to find a good grind that doesn't end up going through the filters and everything has been a bit of a mission. So we've reverted to a
French press at the moment.
Yeah.
Weren't you guys roasting your own at one stage, or? I thought I caught an episode where you guys were you roasting your own or farming your own coffee at one stage?
Oh, we went out to a coffee plantation. We went and did a tour. That was James deciding he was going to.
Nicki bought me a coffee tour for my birthday, which was awesome.
Yeah, so we went out there, and yes, they had one coffee, but they didn't have it available for us. It was an export one.
Yeah,
and so you can only get the not such good coffee from that one. So we do need to go more hunting.
But the thing is we've gone to a couple of little cafes who do amazing coffee. Yeah. It's just really hard to replicate.
Yeah. To get it.
Yeah. We're learning. We'll get there. So we'll nail it. And when we do, we'll share.
Yeah, absolutely.
It can't be underestimated how important a good coffee is in the morning.
Oh, not at all.
No.
It prevents mass murder.
So
and what was the other question?
Red wine.
So,
That's
red wine.
Yeah.
Chilean red wine. El Salvadorian wine, we haven't actually tried any El Salvadorian wine yet. And I tell you what, it's been, because it's so warm here, drinking wine hasn't been such a big thing compared to what we would normally do in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And it's like 5 o'clock, beer o'clock time more than anything because of the heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, which has been interesting.
So, and what's the winter like there?
Well, I don't even know if there's a thing called winter. We have dry season and we have rainy season.
Yeah.
So we're in rainy season now. June.
Oh yeah, it looks terrible.
Yeah. It's coming in. It is coming in. We had a beautiful day. We had a beautiful day. It can't, so what happens is June apparently is one of the wettest months. So we are in one of the wettest months. July, we have a lot of thunderstorms and lightning. And then August, September, we actually start getting sort of the cyclones apparently. So, but most of the cyclones are really coming in from the Caribbean. And so by the time they get over the hills, we don't actually get so much of them here.
How far from the beach are you?
Oh, we can hear it.
Yeah, we can hear it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're going to have a guest very soon. Gordon's moving over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some amazing places in here.
Yeah. So
If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, like, and share so we can find others like yourself.
So what's been like the best surprise and what has been a disappointment as far as the move and living there?
surprise.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
There's, yeah.
What are you going
The best surprise is probably once you get over the initial shock of the fear that it's, for example, you go to Bitcoin Beach and you walk down the road and it's literally potholes, it's mud, there's animals all over the place.
Yeah.
It's
As in
cows and dogs, and there's, you got to watch where you step in case you're standing in poop or rotten fruit or something. Barbed wire, like high walls, gates, razor wire.
So like a Kiwi lifestyle property.
Yeah, but you feel like you're in a third world country. But what's really interesting about it is that, like, Bitcoin Beach it's obviously famous because it's Bitcoin Beach, but there's actually money hidden behind all the high walls, and that's actually quite interesting because you almost have this feeling of, am I in a safe area? But once you learn that you are in a safe area, and this is just the way that El Salvador has defended itself against the gangs, to, people have built these high walls. And it's a discussion we've actually had twice this week, which is due to the gang extortion that was happening. It appears to have eroded the culture of El Salvador, because any business or any home that showed any sign of wealth was, of course, going to become a target of the gangs. So the trick to staying low has basically been to make your business look poor, make your home look poor, and then the gangs are more likely to leave you alone. So it's an unfortunate downward cycle that the gang problem has created, and hopefully what Bukele has done by cracking down is going to encourage people like us to come here and go, oh, it's, it looks like this because of the negative spiral, and, come here and spend money and hopefully allow people to go in the opposite way. Because in New Zealand, if a business takes pride in itself, it will attract more people. More people want to eat there and spend money there. Is where here it's been driven out.
Yeah.
Have there been instances where you felt unsafe or threatened?
No.
Oh, initially because we were ignorant.
Yeah. And we were, we'd been seriously sort of, that fear had been sort of embedded in us before we left.
Yeah.
And so for those first couple of weeks when we were up in San Salvador, we were quite scared. Well, walking along the streets, and because nobody walks here. Everyone drives. And so you find there's a huge amount of traffic, and when you're walking, it's, over potholes, it's rubbish is all on the streets. It's, you've got these high walls with these razor wire, all wrapped around it, or broken glass on all the tops of the walls. Yeah. And it's quite it's quite disturbing, intimidating.
Yeah.
So when you get over that and go, well, this is just what it is, the people, I think one of the great surprise, the people are beautiful.
Yeah,
they're really, really lovely, and they want to help you. So, they're just here to just be here, and they'll do anything for you. It's really cool.
And just elaborating on that first week, so the walk to the supermarket was 200 meters, maybe 250 meters up the road, and we were literally like making sure that people weren't following us and like weird things. And you get to the supermarket, and there's like 3 guys standing around with shotguns who are there to protect the people in case, anything happens. And by the end of it, after 1 week, I'm basically high-fiving and saluting these dudes with shotguns, and they're waving at us as we're coming in. And they were happy to see us, and they wanted to talk to us and practice their English. And once we realize that these people, this is just their normal life, they're not doing it because it's necessarily like the gangs are going to, in the past, I imagine that was a real fear. And we've talked to people who it was really scary. These things could happen. But and we do also want to be careful that we don't get too comfortable. So, but we're not,
There's guns everywhere.
Yeah.
Guns that,
normal.
Yeah. Normal.
No, I grew up in Morocco, and you're describing my daily route. I remember, we'd see guards with AK-47s, policemen with AK-47s at every intersection, and it was a norm. You never felt unsafe. It was just the norm,
And so adjusting to that would be the biggest sort of fear and surprise that it's normal. Yeah.
And what do you miss from New Zealand?
There's the family and friends, but there's also that ease of buying stuff, because there's a lot of things here and that aren't, you can buy in New Zealand you can't get in El Salvador. Just your basic sort of herbs or vitamins. Just that sort of thing is quite frustrating. But that would be
the convenience is definitely a thing. That would be one thing. It is a culture shock in terms of like for New Zealand, the visual gap between the rich and the poor doesn't look too bad, but here the visual gap between the rich and the poor it's obvious, it's very clear, and it's very apparent. So that culture shock here is quite strong. So I've sort of deviated from the original question of what I miss, but the convenience, that's a big one. I guess where I was going to go with that was it's kind of like a prepper's paradise here in a way. So I guess if you're in New Zealand, and it's kind of fun in a way, if you like those sort of things, coming here, that sort of mentality works well, because you need to be a bit more organized in regards to the convenience isn't here, so you need to be prepared.
Wow.
So it's interesting.
And I don't know about Forrest, but I've lived more overseas than I have actually at home. And after a while, you just start to, there are things you miss, obviously, friends and family, but those food and those conveniences, they just go away after a while. You kind of I kind of miss it, but I can deal without it. And it's, doesn't.
Absolutely.
Not a big deal.
I know we all say we miss friends and family, but do we really?
Yes, we do, Forrest. Yes, we do. So if there's someone listening to this, they're in their car on the way to work, and they're in the gym, and they're like, I hate my job, or maybe that's a bit too strong. I need a change. I want a lifestyle change. What do you suggest to them? Maybe they're into Bitcoin, maybe they're not, but they're kind of bored and they want to see change. Like, what advice do you have for them?
In regard
they're accountants in an office.
If they want to make a change, and if El Salvador's on their list, or it's taking the jump to do it. I mean, we're so caught up in our lives in the Western world that we have to be making this money, we have to be doing this. We've got to keep up with the Joneses, and we are too scared to actually go. We're just on this treadmill, and we might not necessarily be really that happy doing what we're doing.
Yep.
And to make the jump, it's like as soon as you make that jump, it's quite amazing.
Yeah, it's a choice to leave a consumeristic based economy, which cannot sustain itself. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
And I'm going to say, like, it's a perspective check. Like this is different. It's very different, and you're going to go through challenges, but that's how growth happens. And my perspective on being here is I'm on the frontier. Like that's what this is. This is the frontier of a potential new. My opinion is that Bukele would like El Salvador and Bitcoin City to be the Singapore of the world, or the Dubai, or the Silicon Valley, and this is the frontier. It's happening. There's big money coming in. Like when you start listening to what people are saying and doing, so getting in early and being on the frontier now it's still early. Like, I know we say that with Bitcoin all the time, but it's still early here in El Salvador. And if you want to be part of a movement where there's potential for something amazing to happen, do it. Because, I mean, the world's changed, and you can put up with it, or you can make a change and give it a go. I mean, it's life.
And that snowball effect is starting to happen, because we saw Central African Republic is making Bitcoin legal tender. Last 2 weeks ago, we just launched a podcast where we interviewed Lord Fuzitua of Tonga, where he's trying to basically make Tonga mine Bitcoin and make Tonga legal tender and Bitcoin legal tender in Tonga. So it is starting to happen. I do have one more question for you. So I love the beaches in the Able Tasman. Nelson's got some amazing beaches. How do ones in El Salvador compare?
I like to wing foil, so I brought all my gear with me. We're on the Pacific coast, so we are on surf beaches. It's black sand. Some of the beaches are just stones. Some of the beaches are black sand. We haven't gone down the east side, so what I'd call nearly south, but it's not really. But it's all west side, down
southeast.
Yeah, down the bottom, and there are some white sandy beaches down there, and then you've got La Union, which is more of a sort of a cove that's got islands in it, and really looking forward to getting down there. It's more flat water, that sort of thing. So it is quite different.
The black sand, that's because of the volcanoes, is that right?
Yeah.
And the water's warm though.
The water's 29 degrees. Water's great. Just.
So the water's warm, but the surf beaches it's hard to have a relaxing swim, because the surf beaches, obviously the waves are pounding in and there's potential rips. But there are areas you can go to escape that. And if you wanted to, you could live in those areas if you wanted. Or one other option is, I mean, you're so close to the Caribbean, hop over the volcano and
on your yacht,
have a holiday.
And did you have to get used to poisonous biting critters? Because you don't have any of those here.
Oh, I know. We've found our few.
I'm documenting my bugs. So I have been stung by a scorpion twice, I think, or once or twice. I can't remember. Yeah. And we've had probably half a dozen scorpions in amongst our clothes and house. So
and then we've had 2 snakes. One we weren't sure what it was. The second one was not venomous one, but it actually ended up dying. So there was obviously something wrong with it. But
so it died after it bit James. Is that what you're saying?
No. We think something attacked it. We're not sure what it did, but we were sort of watching it, and just the fact that it was out in the open during the day was it's a bit strange. So we just kept our eye on it. I bet James actually skinned it, so we've got the skin.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. You're going to make some snake jerky, or?
It's it's actually for Nicki, so she can use it for jewelry.
Okay. Wow.
So how easy is it to travel to like South America from where you guys are? Is there still mandates and that kind of rubbish, or?
So we don't know through our own personal experience, but listening to others, because we got a car a couple of weeks ago. So we're planning these things, but it's probably still another 6-8 weeks away before we do one. But apparently the land borders are fine. You do need to pay taxes passing between borders. So that's the only thing.
And mandates, we're not sure. Actually, we haven't
really investigated it.
No. So you haven't left
around to Mexico and Guatemala. Yeah.
Sorry.
Have you guys left El Salvador since being there?
No. We've been so focused on getting, because we've made it, this is a one-way trip, and we're going to create a life here. So we're very much just trying to get all our ducks in a row. So we're trying to get our visas, and we're, getting our bank accounts and getting a car, and that all takes time. So, and setting up and finding the right accommodation for us. So now that we're nearly all there, we're sort of like at that point now where we're just going, right, we can start going exploring. And start seeing some other places. And there's a lot more of El Salvador. There's the photos and some of the places we see and people talk about. We're just like, can't wait to go and explore those.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
You're
Oh, sorry, guys. Some of those waterfall slides I've seen, those look really cool.
Yeah.
They're on our to-do list.
Yeah.
I have many practical questions, but I'll limit it to just one. And you mentioned wallets and, Lightning and Bitcoin wallets, but in terms of debit cards, so maybe there are people living who aren't in El Salvador and they want to use Bitcoin or whatever. Do you have experiences, recommendations for crypto or Bitcoin cards?
Most places accept a credit card or a debit card. So if you've got one that's accepted at most terminals, you'll be fine. I'm using a couple of common ones and it's fine. I guess my biggest challenge is the mentality around the taxation of these things, because of course it's seen as a taxable event. So I'm still I've got PST from that, which I'm recovering from. But I guess with the Lightning, I viewed it a little bit differently. If you structure yourself right, you can manage it better.
It's amazing to hear you guys, not just from a digital nomad, even though I don't kind of like that word, but that style to Bitcoin, Lightning, to everything. And a lot on this show, we talk about fundamental Bitcoin, store of value. But you guys are sort of on the other extreme of using it sort of as a method of payment. And it's actually legal tender. Again, it blows my mind. I can't comprehend actually an entire country accepting it as legal tender. I actually didn't think this would happen for a long time. So amazing.
And that's part of why we're here. Like I said, this is the frontier. Bitcoin, a lot of Bitcoiners, who would have said a country would adopt it?
Yeah.
And Bukele gave, my personal opinion is Bukele basically gave the IMF the middle finger.
Yeah.
And when he did that, I'm just like,
outright did it.
Yeah, absolutely.
he tweeted that to them. Yeah. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
And how? When he did that, I knew I'd made the right decision. Like, this guy is committed to what's happening here, and I'm all for it. I want to give this experiment a good go. And some of the people we've met, it's boots on the ground. And the more people, and he said he wants more people like us to turn up and do this, because it's the people. It's not the big investors that will make Bitcoin work. It's the plebs like us that turn up,
absolutely,
talk to the vendors and say, we'll do business with you if you do Bitcoin. And people are seeing it and they're adopting Bitcoin because they want the business with the foreigners that are coming in.
Yeah. And definitely the foreigners coming in is sort of something recent. We're actually in an article here this week. We were just showing this weekend at the Mercados, but it was really interesting because they're talking about how, that a year ago, this, they mentioned this was going to happen, that they were going to get some foreign people start wanting to live in El Salvador. Whereas, 2 years ago, nobody would have lived in El Salvador, or 3 years ago, no one would have lived in El Salvador. So they're sort of saying what Bukele's doing is bringing people in, and it's really cool to be here. And we have a reach of all around the world. We have people contacting us, wanting to talk to us. What's it like? Some people will come for 2 weeks and they'll go, no, it's not for us. Others will go, yeah, this is us. We've found our place, and which is great. And so,
yeah, we just had one family came down for a week, visited. 2 weeks later, they moved.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I like that word frontier, James, because I think it's really appropriate because, as Farah said, we just interviewed Lord Fusatua in Tonga, and all these other countries and all these other communities, they're looking at El Salvador and they're looking at these countries, and I can see, in 10 years' time, half, if not all of Central America, or maybe even South America. And so these countries who have GDPs, they're the 110th or 120th, GDP in the world. After doing these implementation, who knows what's going to happen? And interesting times ahead. I'm sure everyone's looking at it.
Yeah. But the numbers that are just Bukele's busy retweeting numbers that are coming out. They had over 500,000 tourists come through in the first quarter of this year. And then last year they had something like $5.4 billion of foreign investment come into El Salvador.
Yeah. El Salvador's tourism is, last I looked at it about 2 months ago, almost at pre-COVID levels, whereas everyone else in the world is 70% down.
Yeah. The numbers are coming in. It's crazy.
How much of that do you think is Bitcoin? How much do you think is simply freedom of movement that has been taken away from us in other parts of the world?
Quite often you'll find that the freedom of movement aligns with the Bitcoin.
Yeah, quite true, actually.
And stake.
So,
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we're also talking to people who are Bitcoiners. They want freedom of movement, but the cost of living is a big thing for them. So they're here, they've spent time here, but they've decided that they're going to move to another location to basically they're digital nomads. They can go wherever they like, and they move regularly anyway. But they came here, they spent time here, and now they're moving on. But obviously for them, the freedom of movement is part of that, being able to come here and spend 6 months, see what it's like, and then go to the next country and spend 6 months and do what they do. That freedom of movement is a big part of it.
And that, I suppose, is one thing that is a little bit of a shame. You know, some people are going, "Oh, we've got all these foreigners come in. Let's just hike up all the prices."
Yeah.
You know, and we are coming to a third world country, and we are, you know, we don't have the same amenities as you would or infrastructure as you would in the country, or in New Zealand where we came from. And you're sort of going, well, yeah, it's not really worth that much money. And I think that can be a bit off-putting.
Yeah.
Even if they tripled the prices, it's still, what, a tenth of New Zealand anyway?
You know, no, rents. I mean, we were in a property that we were paying more rent there than we're getting in New Zealand.
Whoa.
Serious?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, that's surprising.
Yeah.
And if anyone's looking at coming and thinking that they're going to get a really cheap experience versus New Zealand, do your research first. Feel free to basically ask some questions. Yeah. Because we're in a better situation now, but we needed to be on the ground. We needed to be able to turn up, and we needed to be able to, you know, basically have the freedom to say we can take a longer contract to be able to get the better deal. So turning up and thinking that you're going to, you know, basically have a holiday on a lot less money, that's not the reality.
And we seriously, that's the way we came in thinking. We thought, we're going, it's going to be super cheap. We're going to be laughing, but no.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. And are you guys happy if people send you questions? Like if you guys plug yourselves, are you happy for people to ask you stuff?
Yeah. We field a lot. There's a huge amount of information on what we're doing on our YouTube and on our Twitter and our Instagram. So basically we've gone with NJ El Salvador. So Nicki James El Salvador. So that NJ El Salvador, you can go to .com. That we've got the handle on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Our Twitter is awesome at the moment. I do a daily life in El Salvador and a daily Bitcoin in El Salvador. And I've just had a tweet that got picked up. Well, without actually, we did the tweet, because normally it's just me, but Nicki and I did it together because it was our visas, and that has had some amazing traction. And a lot of Salvadorians have been like, "Look at these two crazy New Zealanders who have just got a visa in New Zealand. This is crazy. Like, what's happening because of what they're doing?" Yeah. So the Salvadorians have been proud of the changes that their country has made to bring a couple of crazy Kiwis like us to their country who want to spend the time and money to get a visa. Like, for them, that's just insane. But we're here for Bitcoin and the great people now.
And we're also nearly finished an ebook, you know, on just the first months and the do's and don'ts and how to get it, which is really cool.
Condensed the information. There's so much.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So that's all nearly finished. So just the last of the proofing needs to be done, and it's going to be available very soon too. So
Well, you guys are just amazing ambassadors for El Salvador. I have to say, it's really fantastic what you guys are doing, and we're very inspired and jealous actually. So we'd love.
It's fun. It is so much fun.
I can tell you haven't stopped smiling.
And you're going in these places like these halls were sort of like warehouses, and you're going into these warehouses and they're narrow little places, and it's the dirty floors, and you know, dogs have pooed here, and you know, you just like going, and you've got people on either side of you selling wares, and we were lucky. We went with El Salvador, and the first time we went through, otherwise we would never have gone in there.
No.
And we went in, and now it's everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people know us. We are there every single week. We're buying our cheeses, we're buying our vegetables, we're buying our our nuts and seeds and
all our fresh produce is bought from the locals.
Yeah, and they just they're just always saying hello and
they love Nicki.
Laughing at my Spanish.
Well, they're always waving Nicki and come and buy from us. It's quite funny. It's fun.
Yeah. So is there a language barrier there? Or?
Yeah, little. Spanish is obviously the language here, and there's different types of Spanish. So you go to the mercados, and it's more of a raw.
Oh, it's very
Spanish.
local. Some people are their Salvadorian Spanish is thick.
So it's very hard to understand the little that we know, but you get to know, you get to ask the questions, and you sort of want to question, how much is that, and so it's fine, and they start talking slowly to you, and which is quite cool.
And having smiling, having a laugh. That communication goes a long way, especially with genuine people.
And they're so friendly. They love sort of chatting to you and smiling and talking to you. So
when people hear my accent, they automatically start speaking slowly as well.
It's good.
That's awesome, guys. I love your story, not just the Bitcoin part of it, but just packing up shop, heading to a place that, ironically, a developing country has more freedom than your home country, including mine as well. I'm across the Tasman. So, we definitely understand that. So I think I'll be coming to El Salvador very soon, maybe via Tonga. But, absolutely fascinating. And are you guys involved in any sort of local community projects in terms of Bitcoin or non-Bitcoin?
I feel guilty saying no, I'm not, but it's because we've been so focused on establishing ourselves, and because it's been more expensive than I expected, committing to work and making sure that we're set up has been a priority. But the Bitcoin meetups here, just about every night you can go to something somewhere. So either along the beach here or up in San Salvador, there are things, there are charities. There's shops. There's so much happening. It's if you want to be involved in Bitcoin projects, there's no shortage of things to get involved in.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. And there's that, and then there's in our home Western countries, there's nothing. There's people trading Bitcoin, but it's not. Yeah. It's like it's nothing.
Yeah.
So.
Here it's like who did I speak to? I can't remember what the topic was now, but they asked us, there was people are trying to connect Bitcoin to a lot of major services like language schools or surfing schools or tourism, and that there's a lot of charities that are trying to come up as well. And there was one specifically for educating people to use Bitcoin, to be able to educate people to use Bitcoin. So they're trying to create a perpetual education system. And we want to be involved in these things. We would love to do some of our own things as well. We just haven't had the free time to prioritize as much as, and I feel guilty about that, especially being a Bitcoiner and being on.
No, you shouldn't. You got to get yourself set up and
exactly.
Yeah, and I think being there and even spending the money and even educating just like landlords and drivers and certain shops, is a start as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the proof is in the pudding.
It's being here and spending the money is making a big difference as well.
Yeah. Wow. Incredible. Guys.
Absolutely.
That's fascinating. We would now, can you give everyone else your handles as well, where they can find you and follow you? Just do that again, please, James or Nicki.
Basically NJ El Salvador. So Nicki James El Salvador, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, njlsalvador.com.
Yeah.
You can find us there. And we'd love, I don't know if I can say it, but I'm going to. We'd love some more followers on YouTube.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So would we.
We each gained one.
Our subscribers need to subscribe to you.
Yeah.
What's actually really interesting about that is a majority of our subscribers are actually El Salvadorians living overseas. And they love to comment because they love to see foreigners who have gone to their country because they left their country because it was unsafe. And it's been crazy. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And the amount of times they miss, certain things like the rain and the smell of the earth the next morning, or to just the things we're doing, and the fruits are incredible.
Yeah.
Being sort of in the tropics and. Yeah.
All right, stop. You got to stop. Yeah.
Gordon's been stuck in Australia and he's over potatoes.
Yeah.
Well, for everything else as well. We appreciate your time. And everyone listening to this, look at the show notes. We'll have all the links to you guys. Subscribe to your YouTube. Have you guys got a podcast as well?
No. Our YouTube would be the closest thing.
Yeah.
We do a live once a month. So if anyone's got questions and they want to ask us on our YouTube live, we're pretty candid. We answer everything we get on there. Yeah.
Well, I'll join that and ask a few questions because I'm coming over.
Yeah, more than welcome.
More than welcome. Yeah.
Well, thanks for your time. We really appreciate it. And I believe this was your first podcast. Is that right?
Yeah, we're very honoured that a New Zealand podcast picked us up and said, "Hey, you guys want to chat?" And it was like, "Yeah, that's awesome. That's pretty appropriate."
I'm sorry, I have to correct you. It's a half New Zealand podcast. Just want to put that out there.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You got it close.
No, thanks again for your time. We really appreciate it, and we'll follow your story. I just subscribe to your Twitter and your YouTube as well, so I'll definitely be following that and see how you guys are going. So
Awesome.
Thanks again.
Good.
Thank you guys.
Very much.
Yeah, thank you. It was great.
I'll do it again.
Awesome.
Yeah, love to.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, cheers. See ya. Bye.
Thanks for watching or listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, subscribe, and share so we can spread this educational content to others like yourself. Visit bitcoinbasics.help.
Disclaimer. Any content provided by CoinCompass is for educational and informational purposes only and is not investment, legal, tax, or any other professional advice. A qualified professional should be consulted before making any financial decisions. CoinCompass will at times recommend certain products, services, and technologies, but these are opinions based upon our own or podcast guests' experience and not endorsements. We take no liability for out-of-date or inaccurate information, software bugs, manufacturing errors, technology misuse, or issues involving third parties. Visit coincompass.com for more information and please contact us.